This is Wicket on Wisconsin. My name's Mike Wicket. After 10 years in Milwaukee talking sports, I took a bit of a break, but now I'm back and here to talk about the Packers, the Bucks, the Brewers, and more with you. And now inside the Koss Headphone Studios, this is Wicket on Wisconsin with me, Mike Wicket.
Welcome in. That one sucked. That one really, really sucked. It sucked for a bunch of reasons. It sucked for a bunch of different reasons. Bucks now down 0-2. After falling, 116, 114? Was that the final? In game 2 against the Miami Heat. Yeah, that wasn't very good, was it? So much went wrong for Milwaukee in this basketball game. So much was bad for this Man, I am frustrated beyond belief by this one. You're just going to lay back there? We'd love to know what you think of this one. Hit me up on Twitter, on Facebook. We're live. Bucks lose in infuriating fashion, and I'm not just talking about the fouls at the end of that game. I'm talking about the way the Milwaukee Bucks played for a second straight game against a team that wasn't going to take any crap. I mean, I talked about it a couple of nights ago when the Bucks lost to Miami in Game 1, that you can't get away with stuff against this team that you are able to get away with against Orlando. And turnovers absolutely crush this team once again. Absolutely crush this team once again. And I don't know what... See, I thought when they were going to get Eric Bledsoe back that the turnover game was going to be short up. Didn't you? I mean, didn't you think that you get your starting point guard back, everybody goes back to their normal roles, and the turnover game was going to get short up? Well, looking at the stat line tonight, your Milwaukee Bucks still managed to turn the ball over 14 times. 14 turnovers for the Bucks. 10 for Miami, by the way, for trying to keep score. And your big dogs, Giannis and Chris, 29 for Giannis, 23 for Chris, but first half, Giannis didn't have a whole heck of a lot going. Giannis didn't get a whole lot going until late in this ball game. Finished with 10 boards and a couple of assists. Chris had 8 dimes and 6 rebounds in this ball game. But it was the same story. Other than Giannis getting to the rack more and Giannis actually hitting free throws, and we've dogged him. I mean, he missed 2 down the stretch, but we've dogged Giannis for his free throw shooting a lot. I personally have dogged Giannis for his free throw shooting a lot. And you know what? You have to give Giannis some credit. He actually, hit shots from the free throw stripe, which he hadn't done in the past. But, man, Miami's good. Miami gives this team all kinds of trouble. And it wasn't until Bam fouled out, when Adebayo fouled out late in the ballgame, that Milwaukee could actually seemingly expose some of the middle. And that was only for the last, 90 seconds of the game or whatever it was. I mean, that basketball game was so similar to the previous one, other than the fact that there was no 40-point night by Jimmy Butler. He hit the last 2 free throws and won the ball game for Miami. But it's a story of defense and turnovers. Intensity. Defensive intensity is not there, and they're careless with the basketball. I mean, there were a couple of times, and I swore a little bit on Twitter, and I apologize if I upset some people for swearing on Twitter, but there were a couple of times when you're watching, and I literally tweeted out, what in the name of holy dumb effery are some of these passes? I mean, there was one particular pass that I think it was Chris Middleton tried to throw to Brook Lopez on the elbow or deeper than that, and the slam dunk champ is guarding him. You don't think he's going to have the hops to go up and get that board? You don't think he's going to have that ability? And how many times are you watching And there's that little drop-off pass where a guy comes around the screen, and this time it was Brook Lopez, and they just dump the ball off. And what are you supposed to do at that point? You know, you just kind of, they do the screen around the corner. You just hand the ball off. Well, you know what happened late in the game? Brooks seemingly handed it to Miami, like it was a Miami quarterback handing it to a Miami running back. And that was a 4-point swing. Every time the Bucs seemed to get a couple of things going, every time the Bucs seemed to kind of get up close to the top of the mountain, Miami would come back and Tyler Hero would hit a three, or Dragic would hit a big shot, or Adebayo would hit a jumper as the shot clock was running down. I mean, it was infuriating. The Bucs could never, and when they did have an actual run going, you remember the run. It was in the third quarter. The Bucs were putting it all together. They were playing their intense defense. They were getting out in transition. They were hitting buckets. And what happened? Kyle Korver committed the Zaza foul. Freak play, man. Hurt Andre Iguodala, unfortunately, but it was a freak play. You know, it was one of those where he slid under his ankle and was shooting a three, and that just killed the momentum Milwaukee had in this ballgame. And they just kept fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting to try to build that momentum back up, and they never actually could sustain it to the point where they could get ahead, stay ahead. Because Miami's good, man. Miami's got answers. Miami's got players. Miami's got guys that can hit buckets all over the floor. And they got guys, and I can run through their stat line if you really want me to. I mean, Bam had 15. Jay Crowder had 16. How many big threes did Jay Crowder hit early and late? 23 for Dragic. I really thought Bledsoe was going to come back in and lock Dragic down. That dude is straight up good. He is fire. I mean, that guy can score all over the court. And I believe that when we redraft the 2019 NBA draft, I don't think it's going to start with Zion Williamson. I think it's going to start with Ja Morant. And I believe if we're seeing, as we have seen with bigger dudes often in the NBA, we've seen them eat themselves out of the NBA. I think we're going to see Zion eventually do that to himself. And we might be seeing Tyler Hero, Milwaukee's own, playing for Miami. We might be seeing the next, the number 2 guy coming out of that draft. Ja's a superstar. You know that. Tyler Hero is making the case that he should have been drafted much higher than when Miami snagged him. Because that guy's been killing the Bucs now for 2 games. Straight up killing the Bucs for 2 games. And now what do you do if you're Milwaukee? I mean, people complained, and I listened to some Milwaukee sports radio, and I talked about it, and I tweeted about it, and I podcast about it. I did everything that everybody else did, and I said, look, shorten up that bench. Less Pat, more West. Get Bledsoe back. I mean, the other thing was stop turning the damn ball over, but Lord knows that's not an option with this basketball team. All they do is turn the ball over at some of the worst times. But they made adjustments, and it still wasn't good enough. I mean, Jimmy Butler had, 12? 13? Whatever he had. What did I say? Butler had 13? I mean, Jimmy Butler wasn't stellar. Props to Wes Matthews. He locked him down. Eric Bledsoe playing D. Giannis at times on Jimmy Butler. They took him out of the game. Everybody else beat Milwaukee tonight, not named Jimmy Butler, until Jimmy hit those shots at the end, the free throws. And that last second shot by, let's back up. Before we get to the shot by Butler where he hit 2 free throws, Chris Middleton may have been gifted a trip to the free throw line. Middleton may have been gifted an opportunity to go up and hit 3 free throws. I do want to find out why there wasn't an and one on the previous play when Brook Lopez stole the ball on the turnover by Butler underneath his own basket, why Brook Lopez didn't get the and one when he went up for his layup. That should have been a foul on Dragic. It wasn't. I'm not a guy who blames losses on referees. I'm just pointing out the back and forth. Then Chris Middleton goes up for his desperation 3. Questionable call. I mean, if you watch it, Dragic went pretty straight up. His pelvic region may have leaned into his pelvic region. That the pelvic region may have leaned into Middleton and he hit his 3 free throws. It was cheap. Was it a makeup call down on the other end when Butler went up for his jumper at the end of the game and Giannis, dink, tapped him on the back shoulder? Yeah, there was obvious contact. He had his hand on his back. It was a weak call. I don't like the call, but that's the way it goes. I don't know if you feel good about 2 bad calls in a row. Do 2 wrong calls make a right? Do NBA refs feel better about that? So now what? Now what do the Bucks do? Now what does Milwaukee do down 0-2 to a team that is exposing the weaknesses on this roster? I mean, I don't want to repeat myself with building the Giannis wall because everybody knows what they're doing. They're building the Giannis wall. And Giannis is frustrated. How many times does Giannis get the ball slapped out of his hands? But they know what to do. Hell, Doris Burke even commented. Jay Crowder's got him figured out. When when you block off Giannis, the first thing he does, he goes to that spin. They got that figured out. And Miami, props to the Heat. They're playing incredible defense. Incredible defense on recovery. They'll double Giannis, and guys will shade and cheat. When Giannis gets to the paint, boom, that wall forms. And it takes him a second to find somebody to kick out to. Miami gets to that guy really quick. They do a really good job of kicking out. It's impressive. It really is. I mean, Spoelstra is a great coach. I don't know if Bud is a great postseason coach, but Eric Spoelstra is a great NBA coach. And he's proving it by frustrating Milwaukee. I mean, there was a moment when I wondered if this team was going to lose by 30 tonight. I mean, there was a moment in that first half I wondered if they were going to lose by 30 tonight. So what adjustments do you do now going forward for Game 3? I mean, in theory, Bucks in 6 can't happen unless you lose 2, right? I mean, I'm no math guy, but Bucks in 6 can't happen. But you also can't get to Bucks in 6 if you lose to the Heat in 4. So what do you have to do? I mean, Bledsoe played well tonight at times. Giannis in the second half played well. But this team has got to stop turning the ball over. These passes can't be so dang lazy. One of these nights, you're going to need this team to get hot and catch fire from outside. I mean, tonight they shot 7 of 25 from 3. They were 28% from outside. Meanwhile, Miami was 17 of 45 from 3. They shot 38% from 3. I mean, we know that the Bucks aren't going to defend the three-point line very well. We know Miami loves to shoot the 3. At some point, Milwaukee's going to have to get one of these nights where they hit 15 threes in the night, and they go on runs, and they're able to pull away. Because the last 2 nights, outside of that first quarter in Game 1, Milwaukee has looked like the inferior team. They have. I don't know what the next best adjustment to be made is other than get your head out of your ass, team, and stop turning the damn basketball over. That would really help. I'm no Coach Bud. I'm not Spoelstra. I'm not Brad Stevens. I'm not a great NBA coach. But I know one thing is for certain. This team's got to get their head out of their ass, stop turning the basketball over, and find ways to get some open shots on the outside. Because Miami is saying, you're not going to beat us with Giannis in the half court. They recover well. They get back on defense after misses. They even get back on defense after makes, so Milwaukee can't even start any semblance of a fast break. But they do an especially good job after misses, where they get back, they plug the paint, and any recovery, any help after a double on Giannis is met immediately. Milwaukee's getting outplayed. That's why they're down 0-2. Tonight, our best guy was better than their best guy, and it still wasn't good enough because they had 3 or 4 other guys, and you only had one other guy who played really, really well, and that was Chris. He had 23 points, 6 of 15, really didn't turn it on until midway through the second quarter. Bledsoe had 16. I mean, that's it. 14 for George Hill. We'll find out what his status is. He got hurt late in the ball game. I mean, when Marvin Williams is 1 for 6 and getting 22 minutes. Can we also talk real quick? Because I'm going to wrap this up, but there's a big debate about when you pull guys after their 3rd or 4th or 5th foul. When Chris Middleton picked up his 5th foul with about 5 minutes to go in the game, Bud immediately sent him to the bench. I hate it when coaches do that. I really do. I'd rather keep my second best offensive weapon out on the floor, personally. I'd rather keep that guy out on the floor. and take my chances to see if he'll pick up his 6th foul, as opposed to pulling him off, letting him watch the deficit grow and grow and grow as he's on the bench, and then you have to call that next time out and get him back in there, which we all knew was going to happen anyway. It happens with Giannis all the time. Now, Giannis is a bit more of an aggressive player and is more likely to pick up foul 3, 4, and 5, in the fourth quarter or the third quarter and the second quarter than Chris. Just the different styles of play. But that's just another infuriating part of watching Bud and this crazy rotation they have right now. I mean, he shortened the bench up a tick. You didn't see Ersan in this game. But you saw a lot of Marvin Williams. You saw a lot of DiVincenzo. You saw a lot of Pat Connaughton. I don't know what the next adjustment is other than you have. I mean, this is not basketball breakdown at the highest level, but you got to play better. You have to play better. You really do. I know it's simple, right? You got to play better. And if they don't, it's going to be an embarrassing sweep or out in 4 or out in 5, series to the Miami Heat, and then a lot of what if. And I don't want to talk about Giannis leaving. I don't think Giannis is leaving this offseason. But it's, can Bud ever get you over the hump? Can Bud win you anything but 60 games or 56 in this weird season? Can Bud ever get you anything more than that? I don't know. I have no idea. I just know that this was another infuriating game to watch. Another horrendous effort not turning the basketball over. And an effort that the Bucks are going to have to somehow figure out a way to fix. Because if not, they're going to lose Game 3 to Miami. They did a good job on Butler. Everybody else beat them. They got to step it up. And maybe they can do it. We'll find out. Hey, thanks for checking this out. I wish I was coming to you on a better note. But Bucks lose. They fall to the Miami Heat 116-114 in game number 2 of the Eastern Conference semis. They're now down 0-2. Day off tomorrow. They'll play on Friday in game number 3. We'll have another podcast for you. Hey, thank you again. We'll do it soon. Again, I don't want to just keep repeating. My wife is in the background. Until next time, I'm Mike Wickett. Thank you so much for listening to Wickett on Wisconsin. Until next time, go Pack, go Brewers, and let's go, Bucks.
Thanks for listening to Wickett on Wisconsin. If you have any feedback or you want to reach out to the show, you can find me on Facebook, Mike Wickett Podcasts, or you can email MikeWickettPodcasts@gmail.com. And you can find me on Instagram and Twitter @MikeWickett. Thanks to Silverman Sound Studios for providing the music for today's show. And you can find us anywhere you find your podcasts, including Apple, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. Until next week, thanks for listening to Wickett on Wisconsin.